My name is Audrey Smith. I live in the Northeast in Connecticut, here in the United States. Mother of two teenagers. Work full time, husband, busy house, pets. So, just constantly kind of on the go.
Right.
And I'm, getting a little older too. Happy. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So just sort of busy working mom and wife. I actually saw it on Instagram and was really intrigued. So, I work in a creative field, and so one of the things that sort of just immediately caught my eye was just there was such a beautiful presentation for it, and I was really, really intrigued and clicked through. And the notion of the look and feel kind of grabbed me first and foremost, but then the promise of better sleep, deeper sleep, and a different approach to sleep,
right.
Like not a sleep aid, but a product that sort of helps a person fall asleep more naturally.
Right.
I thought was really, really intriguing and something I hadn't seen before. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole and said, yeah, I'm going to give it a try. Of course, it was in the middle of the pandemic. So I think everybody was, sort of probably, feeling either some level of anxiety,
yeah.
et cetera. So sleep, has always, usually never really had a problem, but started to see it become a little bit more challenging too as getting older, sort of waking up in the middle of the night, sometimes having a harder time getting back to sleep, sometimes not being able to even go to sleep or fall asleep to start, and sort of the turn of the brain. And I've tried meditation and a lot of other sort of techniques that they say, like no more screen time after a certain point, cool. But still found that I was waking up quite a bit and it was a little restless.
Okay.
And so just, was always sort of waking up feeling like I could still use a couple more hours, instead of kind of waking up feeling refreshed.
Sure. And did you actually end up trying any maybe over-the-counter medications or sleep aids to try to help you to fall asleep and keep you asleep throughout the night?
Yeah, I've used a couple of things like some sleepy teas with different ingredients that you sort of sip it in advance and then you would start to feel sleepy. Or I had found a brand of I'll sort of say it like a sleepy confection without naming any names. But sort of like sleep aid, and sort of like they almost look like M&Ms, and so you could take those a couple times in advance. I probably ate them more because they were tasty sometimes, but they did work. They did.
I've tried those too.
Yeah, they did help with sleep, but it was a bit more of a knock you out.
So kind of like a heavy wake up.
Yeah, like it felt like more of a like I'm going to drug you. I didn't wake up feeling groggy at all. Felt fine, but it was a bit more of
a knock you out type product.
Yeah, like a knock you out versus you're already falling asleep, and it was more of a gentle. Like literally, sometimes I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna read a little bit. Took my chocolates. I'm gonna read a little bit, and next thing I know, it was like I'm drooling on myself.
You're out.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So it sounds like Delta kind of gave you more of a natural falling asleep, gradually having you fall into sleep rather than just knocking you out as you were possibly in another activity trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, it is. It's different. And it feels a bit more, it doesn't feel like, it feels like you're almost sort of, I would sort of describe it as slipping into a nice warm bath. It feels a little bit more gradual. And what I found was, because even with the teas and the chocolates and all that kind of stuff, I was then, I would kind of go deep. I'd fall asleep, I'd be like knocked out, sleep for about 2.5 hours. I'd wake up, usually get to bed around 10:30, maybe 11ish is sort of my sort of lights out. And I would wake up like a start at 2:30 and wouldn't be able to get back to sleep for a couple of hours. And I'd probably fall asleep finally like maybe an hour or so before it was time. I knew the alarm was going to go off.
Sure.
Whereas when I switched over to Brain Luxury, it's a bit more of a gradual, and then it's more solid. And usually I'm not waking up until basically the alarm's about to go off. I would say that it's sort of twofold. I think one is when I'm waking, I feel more rested, which is great. Like I don't feel as with where I was before, like pre-Delta. It was a bit more like, oh my God, can I just sleep? Here, when I wake up, it's more of like, oh, okay, it's time to get up. Maybe I don't want to face the day for other reasons, but it's not because I feel tired.
Right.
Like, where I felt sluggish and it was literally like, get the crane to lift me out of bed. Here, I feel like I actually, there's a bit more of a spring in the step. I feel it again, I just feel much more rested. I feel like I actually got to a deeper place than I might have otherwise. And so during the day, I might feel mental exhaustion just from all, sometimes the stress of just everyday living and demands of job and family life and all of that. But I don't feel the physical, sort of exhaustion that I did prior.
Okay, that's good. Do you use a sleep tracker device of any kind?
I don't. Yeah. Haven't invested in the watches and things and all of that. So I haven't, but so it's more anecdotal, but just, again, every once in a while, I'll still wake up here and there. If I'm, anxious about, maybe a big project at work or something coming up the next day. But again, it doesn't feel like a physical thing. That's much more maybe sort of the emotional, mental kind of thing that's going on. And if I do wake up, I will say this, the moments where I have sometimes woken up in the middle of the night, I find it's much easier to get back to sleep on when I've taken it that night. Every once in a while I'll forget to like run. Oh, I forgot. Like I'm already in bed. Like, oh my God, I forgot. I got to go down to the fridge and go get it. Like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. But then I will notice a difference when I don't take it versus when I do. So if I do wake up in the middle of the night, again, getting back into the deeper sleep is much easier than it used to be. In addition to, like, we chatted about sort of how I first discovered Brain Luxury, I think one of the other things that I found intriguing was looking at what was in it, because I was interested in sort of understanding sort of the science behind it and understanding how, again, how your brain waves work and what you're trying to get to in terms of, REM sleep or REM sleep. But I also was intrigued. I'm like, well, what's in it, right? Is it melatonin and all of this kind of stuff. But the idea that it was, again, things that your brain already actually needs to function, I thought was also one of the things that really intrigued me. Because I was looking at the list of ingredients. I'm like, there's nothing in here that I would worry about. Like, what's it going to do to me?
Sure, yeah.
That's the other component of it I thought was really, really interesting. And again, a good benefit of it as well. Because, again, I find that I got a lot more clarity.
Yeah.
In terms of, being able to focus and all of that, and not sort of needing the same sort of stimulation to get up and running in the morning. Yeah, I mean, actually, I have. Like, I've talked about it to my friends and family. I mean, I think it's never, for anybody who just wants who really wants a better night's sleep, and I think it makes you, again, it feels. One thing that I also feel like is I'm a bit more in control. It feels like, because one of the things, again, I was intrigued by in terms of the copy around and the communication around what Brain Luxury does. Is like your brain. We don't want to try to tell your brain when to sleep. It's more about how we're going into the sort of we're combining with the natural rhythms that you already have. It's like you stay where your brain wants to go, versus it's, again, like, sort of, again, drugging sounds negative, but like when you sort of, well, I'm going to take this soap to knock me out. This actually sort of works with the natural rhythms of, of how sleep and your brain function. So I feel like that's for somebody who doesn't, well, I don't want to take a sleep aid. To me, again, I always say it's not a sleep aid,
right?
At all. I feel like instead what it is it's like support. It's
support for your natural sleep. Yeah. It's really an enhancement of what you've already got.
Yeah. It feels like brain nutrition in a lot of ways. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's, again, helping your brain, giving your brain what it needs to function the way it should.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. been amazing hearing about your experience with Delta. I'm so glad that it's helped you fall asleep faster and keep you asleep throughout the night the majority of the time. Right?
Thank you. No.
Hopefully it ends up being 10 out of 10, that you end up staying asleep throughout the whole night every time.
That would be great. If I could just win the lottery, then then I wouldn't have to worry about the anxiety.
Yeah, totally. Know where you're coming from. But thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I hope you have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Audrey.
Bye.